This video will teach you how to use the 4 Korean subject marking particles, e/ga and neun/un, and the 2 object marking particles, o and ro.
Let's start by identifying parts of a sentence. Most of you probably already know this stuff, but it's useful background information. Here is an example sentence. I hide. This sentence contains a subject and a verb. The verb is the action word. The verb in our example is hide. The subject is the noun, which is doing the verb. A noun is a thing, person, or place. In this example, the verb is hide, and the thing, which is hiding, is I. So I is the subject of the sentence. Subject markers are suffixes that you attach to the end of the word that is the subject of the sentence. And there are 2 types of subject markers, the neun/un variety and the ga/e variety. Ga and neun subject markers go after words that end in vowels. E and un subject markers go after words that end in consonants. Both varieties are used to identify the subject, but the difference between them is that the ga/e variety puts extra emphasis on the subject, and the neun/un variety puts extra emphasis on the action. If you want to say I hide in a way that makes it clear that you are hiding, not doing something else, then use the neun/un variety, nanen sume. If you want to say I hide in a way that makes it clear to everyone that it is I who is hiding, not anyone else, I, then use the ga/e variety of subject marker. Let me give you an example situation because subject markers can be tricky to understand. If I ask, what do? You answer, nanen sume. I hide. That's what I do. If I ask, who hides? You answer, 내가 sume. I hide. That's who. Do you see the difference? Ga emphasizes the subject, and neun emphasizes the action. Let's look at our example with the neun/un variety of subject marker first. You label the subject of the sentence with the ending neun if the subject ends in a vowel, or an un if the subject ends in a consonant. In this case, we have a vowel, so we use neun. 나는 sume. Now the polite form, 저는 sume요, and the formal form, 저는 숨습니다. The neun or un is actually optional. When you have a very short sentence like this, it's obvious which word is the subject, so a subject marker is not necessary. If you have a more complex sentence, the subject markers are very helpful in avoiding confusion. Also, there's a shorthanded way of writing the subject markers. Instead of 나는, you may just see 난. Instead of 저는, you may just see 전. The shorthand subject marker is just an n instead of a full nun. You might see the shorthanded spelling with any noun that ends in a vowel. You will hear people talk like this and write like this in email and other unofficial forms of communication, but you won't see these shorthand subject markers printed in books or in the president's speech or anything official like that. It's just one of those lazy habits. Now let's talk about the ga/e variety. Like I said before, you use the ga/e ending if you want to put extra emphasis on the subject. The ga goes at the end of subjects that end in vowels, and the e goes at the end of subjects that end in consonants. But something special happens with the pronouns 저, 나, and ne. They end in vowels, so you would expect them to get the ga subject marker, but they actually get both, e and ga, like this. And now, watch this magic. The e joins the a in 저 and ne to make e, and the e joins the a in na to make e. So we have 제가, 내가, and 내가. Remember learning about this vowel a? It's meant to be pronounced a, but is often pronounced like e. Well, you really don't want to get I and you mixed up. So having two very similar sounding words is going to get confusing. So here's what Koreans do. This one, casual I with the ga subject marker, is pronounced ne and ne, just like it's written. And this one, casual U with the ga subject marker, is pronounced ni. It's one of those words that is not pronounced the way it's written. It's ni. Sometimes in unofficial communication, like chatting on the internet, some people will even write it as ni. And yeah, a ga subject marker after the ni. This is the word that makes English speakers a little uncomfortable. But we all know what we mean. So let's do our example with the e/ga subject marker. The casual form of I hide is 내가 숨어, and the polite form of I hide is 제가 숨어요, and the formal form 제가 숨습니다. And just to make it clear, it is only these three pronouns which get both the e and the ga subject markers. For all other pronouns, nouns, and names, use only the e subject marker if the word ends in a consonant, or only a ga subject marker if the word ends in a vowel. You may sometimes hear e and ga subject markers called subject marking particles, and you may hear neun and in subject markers called topic marking particles. So subject markers, in sum, put them at the end of the subject, i.e. the noun that is doing the verb. When emphasizing the action, use un if the subject ends in a consonant, or nun if the subject ends in a vowel. Nun is often shortened to just n in unofficial communication. When emphasizing the subject, use e if the subject ends in a consonant, or ga if the subject ends in a vowel. You must add both e and ga to the pronouns cho, na, and ne when emphasizing the subject to get 제가, 내가, and 니가. Subject markers are optional and can be omitted if the subject of the sentence is already obvious and you don't want to draw extra attention to either the action or the subject.
But now, my fellow students, we will add another element to our sentences, an object. An object is a noun that is acted upon. It is the thing in the sentence that is not doing the verb, but instead is having the verb done to it. In a typical English sentence, we say our subject, verb, and object in the order subject first, then verb, then object. I ride the skateboard. But in Korean, they do it differently. They say subject first, then object, and then verb. I, the skateboard, ride. In Korean, the verb almost always comes at the end of the sentence. Let's translate this into Korean. Let's start with the casual form and the neun subject marker. 나는 스케이트보드 타. Check this out. Korean does not have a word for the or a word for ah, so it's literally translated as I skateboard ride. Let's do the polite form. 저는 스케이트보드 타요. And the formal form. 저는 스케이트보드 탑니다. We could also use the ga subject marker instead of the neun. And these 6 sentences are mighty fine. They make perfect sense. But you know what we could add to them? An object marker. Object markers are a suffix that you attach to the end of the object of your sentence. They are ul for objects that end in a consonant and rul for objects that end in a vowel. In our example, we have an object that ends in a vowel. So let's add a rul object marker to all of our sentences. Perfect! Look at all these beautiful, unambiguous 3-word sentences. We know which word is the verb because the word at the end of the sentence is almost always the verb. We know which word is the object because it has an object marker. And we know which word is the subject because it has a subject marker. And what's more
is we know whether these sentences are emphasizing the action, I ride the skateboard, or the subject, I ride the skateboard, because they have either a neun/un subject marker or a ga/e subject marker, respectively. So what did we learn today? We learned what the object of a sentence is. We learned that the word order in Korean is subject, object, verb. This is different from English. We learned that in a Korean sentence, the verb almost always comes at the end. We learned that Korean does not have a word for the or a word for ah. And we learned that we have the option of adding an object marker, rul or to the end of an object of the sentence in order to avoid confusion. Check out the links in the description if you like. And Jolly Yo! Thanks for studying with me.